So thank you everyone for joining us today. My colleague Rob and I are really excited to talk to you about a new offering that RapDev is bringing to market called our Managed Datadog offering. But we wanted to, start from a holistic perspective and letting you guys know a little bit about who RapDev is. I'm sure some of you have heard of us before. You found the webinar, but then we'll then get into a little bit more of the challenges we've seen in the market. And then from there, we'll talk about the Managed Datadog offering and what it's going to provide to you, and walk you through a full kind of like life cycle of a customer engagement with RapDev on the Managed Datadog offering, so you have an idea of what that might look like. But to just quickly introduce myself, my name is Jesse Eddy. I am a business development lead here at RapDev. I've been in the observability space and working around the Datadog tool for a little over 8 years now. Have worked with hundreds and hundreds of customers on their observability projects, and was part of the team that was kind of helping put together this Managed Datadog offering. And I'm joined by the man, the myth, Rob. He's one of our engineering managers, but he's much, much more than that. Rob, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hey folks, how you doing? My name is Robert Ferrer de Oliveira. Like Jesse said, I'm one of the engineering managers here at RapDev. Been with RapDev for a little over a year and a half now. Was one of the working members of the Managed Datadog technical team. So worked through with creating the product, and here to talk to you guys today about it. My background, I come from an infrastructure background, networking operations, network engineering. And so I'm very infrastructure focused, and glad to be here today to talk to you guys about Managed Datadog. Jesse, back to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Rob. So I mentioned, I just wanted to quickly introduce everyone to who RapDev is, and really what makes us qualified to kind of talk about Managed Datadog and bring this product to market. So RapDev, we are an implementation gold partner of Datadog's, and we've actually won Partner of the Year the last 3 years running. And that's as a result of our hundreds of Datadog implementations, the 45 plus market integrations that we've built, and really the depth and breadth of our expertise on Datadog, with the most Datadog experts and SREs on staff than anyone else in the partner ecosystem. And Rob, if you jump to the next slide. So what do our offerings encompass? We work with companies in a wide range of industries on really the full Datadog product suite. They range from implementation services, where it might be a tool migration from a Dynatrace to Datadog, Splunk to Datadog. We do workflow modernizations that might be more around, how do I improve my use of Datadog to actually solve day-to-day problems as an SRE. And we've seen, at this point, hundreds of very unique projects. But one thing that we've noticed in, across the range of industries and the range of projects we've worked on is some commonalities in terms of the challenges that we actually see customers encounter on Datadog, and just the ongoing kind of effort that teams need to put in to just make sure their Datadog product and platform that they bring to their company as a service is clean, is managed, and secure. And because of that, we wanted to develop this Managed Datadog offering. So I mentioned some commonalities that we've seen across these broad range of enterprises, but we wanted to bucket them into something that was very consistent. And from a challenge perspective, we see cost and maintaining cost predictability on Datadog as one challenge that the Datadog team or SRE team does is put in charge of. How do we make sure that gradual growth over time remains on checked and maintained? How do we catch those point in time spikes? Then there's hygiene. How do we actually enable our engineers to be productive by having a clean Datadog account? We don't want to create alert fatigue. We don't want to create a buildup of unused assets that are just laying there and there's really accumulating technical debt. So how do we keep the product clean so that our engineers are productive? From a security perspective, I think this one goes without saying, but you need to make sure your Datadog account is kept secure from a risk and compliance perspective. Make sure you're rotating API and app keys, updating agents so that you're not having vulnerabilities in those. And of course, not exposing data to people that should, or parties that should not have access to that data. And then most importantly, scale. How do I scale and make my engineers and various stakeholders within the organization more efficient? How do I enable them with new dashboards or monitors, or stay up to date with Datadog releases so that I can continue to maximize the value I gain from Datadog? So how do we support that scale? So these are really like the 4 challenges that we do see. And I'm very excited to let Rob talk you through what we built for this managed Datadog offering. And I think it does a very, very great job of covering these 4 core areas. And it's something we've had pretty much all of our customers ask us to build. So we're excited to release it to you today.
Cool.
Go ahead, Rob.
Thanks, Jesse. Let me jump on to the next slide. So what I want to go over with you guys today is what is managed Datadog and what does it look like on a day-to-day basis, right? First and foremost, managed Datadog is a co-managed Datadog solution, meaning you own your Datadog instance, and we onboard a dedicated team of RapDev engineers to your platform to manage it for you. But at the end of the day, you own the platform, you own the data and the license. Our goal is to deliver a managed platform that saves you engineering hours from your team. We help you optimize your cost, and we guarantee all the agreed upon SLAs that we have with you. The next, what I want to go through is a couple of use cases that we have focused around those 4 major pillars that Jesse talked about: cost, hygiene, security, and scale. Some of these are things that I've run into in my past. Some of these are use cases that we've come up with from customer engagements. So I just kind of want to walk you guys through it, show you what it looks like with a managed Datadog world. First is cost, right? And when we were building this, it kind of brought me back to the personal experience that I had when I was working at Wayfair, and we were working towards migrating S&P logs from our old monitoring platform into Datadog. One of the things that we had to do was migrate, move all those network logs into Datadog. I remember the day that the team that I was working with, we moved everything over, cut all over Datadog logs, make sure everything was in Datadog, everything was looking great. And we're like, great, we're done, right? We had pointed our Datadog logs to the main index. Some of you guys can kind of see where this is going. Everything seemed fine from our end until about 3 or 4 days later, when I got a little tap on the shoulder from our observability team. And they're like, hey, we stopped getting logs at 10 a.m. every day from Datadog. And what we're seeing is that network device logs are like killing our quota and just stopping everything, right? We need to fix this like now. And so we've worked through it, right? We deployed a new index, put in some log sampling, got everything working great. But that really kind of stuck with me because, right, I thought for those few days, right, in my head, I was like, well, what happens if there was an issue going on and we really needed the logs in Datadog, where we were relying on logs coming into Datadog to tell us about an issue? And so I wanted to bring that up because with managed Datadog, what we're doing on a day-to-day basis is making sure that we're looking at kind of those new usage patterns that are coming into Datadog, those log spikes that are happening, to try and find them as quick as we can. And sometimes we find them within the same day that they happen and let you know about it. We're working with you to identify those new spikes, those usage patterns, give you, right, a remediation plan for that. And then once you give us the thumbs up, we're going to go and implement it for you, right? Making sure that we're working with you so you have all the visibility that you need, making sure that we're keeping you in the loop with everything that we're doing. From our initial offering, right, the 3 big things that we're looking at is going to be custom metrics, APM, and logs. From our experience with customers in the past, we've seen that these are the big 3 cost drivers when it comes to usage and spikes. But we're also cognizant that other customers have different use cases. So if you have something that's outside of that, as I'll talk a little bit more later on, there is that initial phase of managed Datadog where we align with you on business objectives and we can accommodate those. The next use case I want to talk through is around hygiene. And again, this brings me back to a story, an event that happened at Wayfair one time. where I was in the operations center. I used to work at the operations center, and we had this big glass wall that we could see people coming, going in through the hall. And we always had this joke of like, if you see somebody running, they're probably going to come in to yell at us about some kind of event that's going on. And I remember the day that I saw this guy come running down the hall, and he's like burst through the door, and he's like, "Guys, we haven't seen an order in like 10 minutes. What is going? Like, do we have an incident? Do we have a problem? Is our monitor broken? Like, what's going on?" And we were all just didn't see what's going on. We were just like, well, this is news to us. Let's go see if he's right. So like then a couple minutes we're like, oh yep, that's an issue right there. Let's go figure it out. Right? So we did the incident problem resolution, everything, and we go into our retro, and within our team we're thinking like, why didn't we get the first alert the first time, right? Why were we reactive to the issue? We know we have a monitor that tells us when order volume drops for any extended period of time. Why didn't that monitor alert us, and why didn't we get the PagerDuty alert for it? And so we went back to Datadog, did some digging, trying to find out what's going on. Where's that monitor? Is the alerting not working? And come to find out, at the last outage that we had, similar one, we had muted that monitor because it kept firing off and it kept giving us alert after alert after alert, and it was really affecting the way that we could solve the issue. So we muted it. Unfortunately, we muted it for indefinitely, and we forgot to kind of go back and enable it. And so for us, that was wow, that's such a simple problem to have, but it affected us in such a big way. And to me, as we were working through managed Datadog and trying to figure out what are the things that we want to focus on, what are the things that could offer our customers, offer you the biggest impact, this is the one that we wanted to focus on, right? It's we're working with you guys on a week-to-week basis to review all the monitors, all the dashboards in your environment to make sure, first, what are the monitors that are muted? Why are they muted? Do we have a list of critical monitors that should be working, they should be alerting? Can we check for those for you on a week-to-week basis and let you know, hey, we see that this monitor got muted. Are you aware of it? Is this expected? Is this because of a change window that's happening? When is that change window end? Can we re-enable it for you? We want to make sure that the hygiene of your environment uh, stays consistent, right? A lot of what we see is customers grow and the monitors count spread, the dashboard count spreads, and then a lot of staleness creeps in. We see duplicate monitors pop up. We see monitors that should be on, be off. And so we want to work with you to make sure that we clean out that environment. Weekly, we're going in, we're reviewing everything, we're making sure that we're talking with you, checking in with you to make sure what needs to stay, what needs to go, if we need to remove something, that we document any of those changes, any of those monitors that we're moving. And the other thing that we found very important and got a lot of feedback from our customers is around tagging strategy. We a lot of times will create a tagging strategy. Customers have tagging strategies, but we hear from them that over time, after years and years of usage, that tagging strategy deviates, right? It becomes stale. And so we want to ensure with you that if you have a tagging strategy, we're keeping up to date with it. We're making sure that all resources within Datadog are adhere to that tagging strategy. And if they don't, working with those teams to kind of fix that problem for you. The next use case that I want to jump through, and it's an interesting one that happens all the time, even to this day, is around security. We have customer engagements where we'll go in and do some audit checks for customers, and we just had this happen maybe like 2 months ago, where we did an audit check and we found that a customer had 147 Datadog agents that were still in a version that was vulnerable to Log4j. Um, it's it's crazy, but it happens more often than not, right? And so one of the things that we're working with, and Jesse touched on it a little bit, is making sure that your security, that your Datadog platform is secure in and of itself, right? We want to make sure that we're finding the agents who have versions who are vulnerable to Log4j or any other vulnerabilities that happen throughout the year or in the future, creating a plan with you to multiple times a year, go through and update those Datadog agent versions, making sure that we're auditing unscoped app keys or API keys that are associated with users who are no longer within the company, because that's another thing that always happens. We see API keys get assigned to users, and when we go and talk to those users for the usage of those API keys, they're no longer there. And so we want to make sure that we're keeping your environment secure, not just from a risk and compliance perspective, but also from a day-to-day usage of it. In the last use case I want to talk through, and before I talk about what the journey to manage Datadog looks like, is the last one on our pillars is scale, and the importance of scale to us at RapDev, right? We want to make sure that with managed Datadog, we're also being able to develop and enrich your engineering skills within Datadog. We want to make sure that we have a forum or a way for your teams to kind of engage with us to talk through any issues that they might have, any best practices they're looking to do. And one of the offerings that we have is around an office hour every week that we can sit down and talk about best practices, requests that customers have, how to do implementation, anything like that. And then I think Jesse mentioned this a little bit too, but we realized that customers at some point just want us to do something for them, right? If you have an application that's going into production and you want to make sure that the monitors and dashboards or your logging is set up for that application, you can ask that of us and we can go and implement it for you. And the last thing I want to touch on before I hand it back to Jesse, we kind of talk through these polls and Q&A.
Hey, Rob, before we get to that, I did want to just emphasize like all those 4 pillars that Rob just talked about. These are things that you should be doing on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis on Datadog. And we have some customers that are letting some things fall by the wayside. We have other customers that are spending a lot of time that's distracting them from their day-to-day job, right? How do they keep their business up and running? And so really, we're taking that action. We're going to be the ones doing that hands-on key work so that you can focus on your day-to-day job. So I did just want to emphasize that. I know, it's kind of obvious with the actions that Rob was talking about, but super critical, and our customers are finding it so beneficial. So Rob, back to you.
Yeah, sure. No, that's great, Jesse. Thanks for adding that in. The last thing I wanted to touch back on is, what does that journey to manage Datadog look like? The first step that we do before I jump in there, manage Datadog is 3 phases, right? Preparation, launch, and operation. The first phase that we talk about is preparation. That's where, like I alluded to earlier, we're going to sit down with you and talk about your business requirements and your business objectives for managed Datadog. Scope out your environment, figure out what are the things that are most important to you so that we can make sure that we're actioning, getting you the proper visibility, and making sure that we're holding ourselves accountable to that as well. Once we have that figured out, we move into the launch phase, and that's where our RapDev team gets onboarded onto you as a customer. We work on deploying our monitors, our dashboards, our reporting integration, which give us and you the visibility that we're looking into with managed Datadog. You get to see the executive dashboard that we have, where the same visibility that we have in your environment, you get it within yours. You can track everything that we're doing. And we start to define the baseline state of the environment so that we can provide benchmarks and see how progress is getting done month over month of that. And then finally, once we have all of that kind of groundwork laid out, we move into the operations phase. And that's where some of those things that I was talking to you about around actions that we take, that's where we start to action on those. We're working on monitors, alerts around usage. We're working with you on deploying those KT sessions, those office hours. We're working with you on working through some of the requests, and making sure that managed Datadog is working for you every day that you're there. And then lastly is those monthly reviews, right? We want to make sure that you're aware as a stakeholder how your platform is performing month over month so that you can see and make decisions on, does it make sense to bring in, another Datadog offering? Do you have any questions on how your usage would be impacted if XYZ were to happen? Is there something that's now important in your environment that wasn't important before that we need to focus on? Those are the things that we're working with you as stakeholders on a month-to-month basis to make sure that our offering is always evolving and catering to your request. So I wanted to kind of go over that stuff today with you. I want to hand it over back to Jesse. I know Jesse's got a couple more things he wants to talk to everyone around. Jesse, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Yeah, so hopefully this kind of helps represent to you that life cycle from engaging with RapDev to getting onboarded and really offloading a lot of those Datadog management activities onto the RapDev team. Look at us as an extension of your team. We're multipliers and a more cost-effective way to really keep your Datadog platform running efficiently, making your engineers more productive, and of course remaining secure. So if you're interested in kind of finding out more, we do have more information on our website on Managed Datadog. We'd also be happy to set up kind of one-on-one, consultations with you. And there's a list of SLAs. I don't know if you saw at the bottom of each of those 4 core, pillars, but each pillar has a list of SLAs around it. So we're going to be committed to delivering you certain qualities during the life cycle of the engagement. And those can be customized as well based on our understanding and our assessment of your environment. Maybe you're a little more cost conscious when it comes to logs, for example. So reach out to us. Let's have a conversation about what you're doing with Datadog today. And we'd love to talk more. Now, do want to open it up to Q&A and make sure we're also addressing some questions that were popped into the poll as well. Good question coming from someone. You might have noticed earlier slides, we mentioned a security operations command center offering. So new to RapDev, and I think we're actually going to have another session like this in the coming months, maybe next month actually, is going to be our managed security offering. So remediation, security tracking and remediation through our managed SOC offering. So that is separate from the managed Datadog offering. Managed Datadog really focused around the feeding care of your Datadog instance. Then we also, in the poll, I think we saw some, some commonalities, I would say, in terms of, things that you're having troubles with. Let me just get those up here. So yeah, about 30% of the attendees here had problems adhering to best practices for clean and efficient Datadog environments. So obviously what Rob was talking about in terms of hygiene, making sure your monitors and dashboards are clean and quality. So they're not just, overly chatty monitors that people are tuning out. That's all inclusive of this managed Datadog offering. And I think from a scale perspective, kind of giving you advice and recommendations about where to take your platform, what other products you might want to look at that can improve your day-to-day workflow, what we're seeing our other customers do. That's another way to make sure you're kind of keeping that best practice and you're keeping a clean and efficient Datadog environment. Okay. Any other questions out there? Let's see. We've got a couple more in the Q&A. What is the price model for the service? Would it work in the same way for single and multi-org? That is a great question, Raul. So our pricing model is going to be based off of a percentage of your Datadog spend. We do have some early, early customer pricing that we're offering some of our first customers at this point. That's starting to run out. We have a lot of customers giving us good feedback. We think there's a lot of value in the service. So definitely contact us more to dive into the pricing. And it scales based off of the total cost on Datadog and the number of orgs. It will be consistent there. Do you have an automated way to update agents versus having to manually update them? Yeah, Ryan, it's very important for us to automate the way that we're updating the agents. We're excited with a lot of the fleet automation products that Datadog is coming out with, but in general, we work with a lot of customers on their config management strategies as well, and getting that upfront auto config setups in place. Rob, I don't know if you want to double click on that question a little more for everyone.
Yeah, it's part of our the managed data way that we work is we work within your configuration management platform to automate all of that. We don't want to be updating 1,000 agents manually. That's there's a lot better ways to do that. And so we'll work with you to kind of create that automation platform if it doesn't exist, and if it does, we'll leverage that with you. I mean, we use Ansible and Terraform on our end to automate those agents updates.
Yeah, and maybe Rob, do you want to just explain the response to Jesse's other question in the Q&A? How do you deploy, manage monitors in our environment, Ansible, Terraform, API, etc.?
Yeah, so what we do as part of that launch phase that we have within Managed Datadog, we'll create an app key and an API key that we leverage. And we will run Terraform scripts on our end to import those monitors, alerts, and dashboards into your account, so that we can deploy all of them, cater to what you need and the visibility and requirements that you have.
Yeah. And then I did see another question around our SLAs. So Rob did post like a link that outlines all the SLAs on our website as well. But just to highlight a few, I think from a cost perspective, for example, we're going to be tracking and keeping your custom metric spikes. I think that SLAs to keep those spikes within a 10% variation or something. Again, we can tune the SLAs around these based on unique customer requirements. But Rob, any other SLAs you want to maybe highlight for the group?
Yeah, I think the big one that always stuck with me is around custom metrics, month-over-month usage, identifying unused custom metrics in your accounts. We've seen a lot of customer costs be driven up by unused custom metrics. Another big one that I always like to point folks out to is around hygiene and checking in on the exposed data aspect of public dashboards. We've seen customer environments where some of that stuff, public dashboards, get used, and some private data kind of gets put out outside of Datadog without any control there. So those are some of the things that we're checking. And then the big one is around the agent upgrades, right? We're doing those at least twice a year with you, making sure that all your agents are on the same version, making sure that there aren't any security vulnerabilities that they're all affected by, and making sure that your platform is up to date, and you can leverage and utilize the latest and greatest features from Datadog.
And there's another one as well for tag kind of strategy adherence. So as we onboard, we kind of make sure that tagging strategy is defined and something we're going to kind of monitor and track. And then we're enforcing and actually maintaining and updating your tags to make sure it's with adhering to the general strategy.
Yes, yeah, I do see a question around service availability, the service available globally in different time zones from Raul. Do you want to touch on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Managed Datadog is something we're offering kind of globally. So it's definitely available across different time zones. And it's important for us to understand kind of like the time zones when we'd expect our customers to need the most help. But definitely something we can dive into deeper on a conversation. And then I saw another question around, can teams help us migrate everything of another platform like Splunk and bring those into Datadog and then manage both monitoring and security? Okay. Yeah, so to touch on the first part, a little bit separate from our topic today, but RapDev, we've worked with many customers. I'd say it's one of the most common projects these days on migrating an existing monitoring tool into Datadog, following Datadog best practices. So, Splunk, I think post Cisco acquisition, we've seen a lot of interest in taking those Splunk use cases into Datadog. We can help you do that in a more cost-effective way, in a more accelerated way. And then on top of that, with the Managed Datadog offering, we can kind of offload the feed and care of your Datadog account, once you're going live, and turning off a Splunk or something like that. And then on top of that, if you have like a security operations team or you have a managed SOC on Splunk, we can also take that over in Datadog. And we're seeing a lot more customers using the Datadog security suite of products too. So hopefully that answered that. And I know we are at the 30-minute mark. I think we wanted to keep this to a lunch hour here for you. But again, like, we appreciate everyone's questions, and we hope we answered as many of them as possible. But we'd really love for you to reach out and talk to us more. We're super excited to hear more feedback from customers like yourself. So yeah, please reach out if you do have questions, and let's let's have a conversation. And I think that will be all for today. So have a good rest of your day and enjoy your lunch.
Thanks, folks. It's a pleasure talking to you today.